Today, we're breaking down Jungle, a true story brought to the screen in 2017. Set in 1980, it follows Israeli backpacker Yossi Ginsberg as he embarks on a daring journey into the mysterious depths of the Amazon rainforest. Beginning his journey, Yossi arrives in Bolivia, where he meets and befriends a Swiss schoolteacher named Marcus Stam. While on a city tour, Marcus introduces him to his old friend Kevin Gale, a well-known photographer and a legendary adventurer in the backpacking community. The trio start living together at a hostel in La Paz while exploring the neighborhood. One day, as Yossi roams the city, he comes across guide Karl Ruppitcher, who tells him about an ancient tribe known as Toromonas, and urges him to explore the undiscovered areas of the Amazon with him. Excited by the idea, Yossi returns to the apartment and tries to convince his friends about this tour, but they are not ready to trust a stranger. Yossi, however, still takes them to meet Karl, who then convinces them by glorifying the idea and even telling Kevin he will get a chance to capture amazing photographs that could even land him in National Geographic magazine. As Karl leaves, Kevin tells them he is ready and Marcus reluctantly agrees as well. The group starts gathering supplies for the tour, but are surprised when Karl asks them to pay for him too. While packing their bags, Yossi tells his friends about a diary his uncle gave him as a good luck charm, saying that it'll save him from the hardships of the journey. Although he is actually not sure whether it can really protect him or not, he still likes to keep it with him, just in case. The group then flies to Apollo in November and officially begins their trek into the Amazon. While leading them deep into the jungle, Karl shares his views that although the tribesmen might seem like they are living in the Stone Age, they are actually far ahead of modern people. Karl also correctly predicts the coming rain and tells them he knows everything about the jungle. Proceeding further, the group lose sight of Karl, which upsets Marcus, but they soon rejoin him at the bank of the river, seeing a human settlement on the other side. Upon arriving at Arciama's village, Karl is graciously welcomed by the villagers. The group settles in and enjoys their stay and interacting with the locals. Resuming their journey a few days later, the group discover the beauties of the Amazon rainforest, including gold traces in the river and countless butterflies covering everything they see. Venturing deep into the jungle, Karl shoots a monkey and roasts it over the fire before offering it to them. Kevin and Yossi reluctantly try it, but Marcus refuses to eat any of it. The trip starts getting worse for Marcus, as he finds it hard to keep up with the rest of them due to his severely injured feet. Although Karl provides first aid, it does not turn out to be much help for him. The situation upsets Kevin, who is frustrated that Marcus is slowing them down, and he begins to worry they won't be able to finish their trek before the coming rainy season. Marcus begins to notice their distant behavior and apologizes to them for being a burden. Yossi assures him it won't change anything and they will take care of him, but Marcus still spends the night sobbing from his growing depression. The next day, Kevin and Yossi discuss the situation with Karl. After learning they still have 3 or 4 days until they reach the hidden tribe, Yossi suggests going back to the village and building a raft to continue their journey. Karl disagrees and instead suggests he should go ahead alone and seek help, but Kevin rejects his idea, worrying he might abandon them in the jungle. When Marcus walks up to them, Kevin defies Karl and tells him they're planning to build a raft to go down the river. The group hesitantly agrees to the idea and starts building the raft using branches from the trees. Karl advises them to stick together and follow his lead for smooth sailing. Although the raft seems to work well for the group, Karl does not seem happy about it. As they come upon some rapids, Karl becomes upset with how controlling Kevin has become, which leads to an argument, and they barely make it through the turbulent waters. After reaching the shore, Karl fights with Kevin before storming off to go hunting. As they rest, Kevin tells Yossi that Karl is afraid of water because he can't swim. Now fearing Karl might abandon them, Yossi goes after him, but barely survives a gunshot from Karl, who reveals he did it to scare away a jaguar. The next morning, the group plans to resume sailing down the river, but Karl refuses to go, saying he will walk instead. While thinking about how to deal with the situation, Kevin tells Yossi that he wants to go by raft because it is easier and more comfortable. Yossi seconds his idea, but they don't want to take Marcus, thinking he is not in the best state of mind and might cause them trouble. When Yossi shares the idea of continuing with the raft, Marcus intends to accompany them, but they convince him to go with Karl instead, as he will take them out of the jungle sooner. While finalizing plans, Karl advises them to be careful in the rapids and warns them not to go into the canyon. Karl then gives them enough food for their expedition and both teams say goodbye and go their separate ways. As the raft smoothly flows over calm waters, Kevin expresses his wish of going home for Christmas, but suddenly, they come across more rapids, and although Kevin tries to control the raft, they get stuck on a giant rock. Clinging to the rock, Kevin decides to swim for the nearest bank and help Yossi from there. But before he can do anything, The raft is hit by a giant wave and Yossi falls in the water. After a terrifying struggle, Yossi saves himself from drowning and makes it back to the shore. He gets up and starts calling for Kevin, but realizes he has drifted far from him and is now alone in the jungle. After spending a rainy night under a tree, he spots his backpack floating in the water and quickly jumps in to grab it. Now having his stuff back, he continues searching for Kevin, but gives up after finding no sign of him. So he decides to write a note for Kevin and proceed on his own. With no survival training, Yossi struggles to take care of himself stranded in the Amazon, but keeps moving forward while feeding on wild fruit and fighting off dangerous creatures of the jungle. He spends his days making his way through the thick overgrowth and his nights dreaming about going back to the city and getting something nice to eat. Although worried, he keeps himself motivated to keep going until someone comes looking for him. Over time, the loneliness gets to him and Yossi starts hallucinating about his friends. The situation gets more intense with time as Yossi has to remove a worm from his skin and feed on rotten eggs when his hunger becomes unbearable. He eventually stumbles across tribal ruins but can't find any sign of humans around. Reading the map, he thinks he is in Cure Playa and realizes he still has a long way to go before getting to the city of Rarenabake. Although still determined to continue, his painful feet make every step seem impossible. As Yossi examines his wounds, he begins to understand Marcus' pain and apologizes for not understanding sooner. Continuing on his way, Yossi spots some footprints and is excited thinking there must be someone else around, but soon figures out they're his own footprints and he is going in circles. Yossi then has a mental breakdown, thinking he is never going to make it out of the jungle alive. On the 14th day of his miserable expedition, the rains begin which make it even harder for him. Yossi gets back to the river and spends the night under a tree, clutching onto the diary while praying it'll save him. Meanwhile, an exhausted Kevin is found by some locals in Ruinabake, 120 miles away from Yossi. After recovering, Kevin decides to go after Yossi and consults the local police to help him out. Along with the authorities, Kevin flies over the jungle in search of his friend. Although Yossi spots the plane, Kevin cannot see him due to the thick tree cover and is once again left alone and hopeless. However, being a true friend, Kevin does not give up and organizes another search party. As it's been almost 3 weeks, the officer tells him there is no chance Yossi could have survived this long, but Kevin is sure his friend is still out there, waiting for him. Seeing his determination, the officer gives in and tells him about a local Tico who can lead him back into the Amazon. Upon meeting Tico, Kevin briefs him about the situation, to which he reluctantly agrees to take him upriver in search of Yossi. Back in the jungle, Yossi comes across a tribeswoman who is afraid of him, but after sharing his stuff with her, Yossi assures her he will protect her until they are found. He is happy to see another human being, but the woman disappears while he is sleeping. Although upset, Yossi once again gets up to finally see the sunlight for the first time in days. His happiness, however, proves to be short-lived as he soon gets stuck in a bog and passes out from exhaustion. After regaining consciousness, he clings to the branches of a nearby tree and pulls himself out, but has to leave his stuff behind. He then tries to climb a tree to get a better view, but gets stung by some ants and rushes back to the river. On day 19, Kevin arrives at the spot, but can't see Yossi as he is lying behind a rock. Unable to stand, Kevin gives up and decides to return on his own. But barely conscious Yossi hears the sound of the boat and uses all his strength to get back to his feet. Luckily, Kevin spots him before sailing away and rushes to save his friend and takes him back to a nearby village. The epilogue tells us that Kevin also tried to find Marcus and Carl, but they were never seen again. Carl was also already wanted by the authorities, and his claims to know of a lost tribe ended up being false. Kevin continued to pursue his passion for adventure and photography and settled in Israel with his family. Yossi decided to go back to the Amazon and make it his home for life. Due to his efforts, locals built an eco-lodge that transformed the entire region while Yossi continued to follow his passion for adventure.